And here it is, the other half of the reason I make YouTube videos. Batman v Superman was gonna come out on the same day as this movie, but it was pushed up to late March, and that fact inspired me to make my first video about Marvel vs. DC movies. And now we're here. Captain America Civil War. So, Captain America Civil War is movie number 13 in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the first movie in Phase 3. It has begun. And in this movie, the government is really scared of all the civilian casualties that have resulted from the big battles the Avengers have done in the past few years. The Battle of New York in 2012, Washington DC a couple years ago, last year in Sokovia. So the government's like, okay Avengers, you are now gonna answer to us. You're gonna be our bitches. And this creates a divide among the crew, people who agree with the government and people who do not. Steve Rogers, Captain America, disagrees, and Tony Stark, Iron Man, agrees. And thus we have a clash of the titans. Okay, first and foremost, people are wondering, is this Captain America 3 or is this Avengers 2.5? And the answer is, it's whatever you want it to be because it's both. I personally wanted this to be Avengers 2.5 because this is Civil War. So that's how I saw this movie and it worked for me. If you want to see this movie as more of a follow-up to Captain America the Winter Soldier, that'll work for you. This movie works both ways. And yeah, there are a lot of characters in this movie and they are all badass. Scarlet Witch is a badass, Falcon's a badass, Captain America's a badass, Winter Soldier's a badass, Ant-Man is a badass, Iron Man, War Machine, Vision's a badass. But one of the biggest things about this movie is that this is the big intro movie to two big characters in the MCU, and those are of course Black Panther and Spider-Man. Now the only thing I'm gonna say about the webhead here is that he is the best Spider-Man I've ever seen on the big screen. That's all, I'm done, because any more about that would be spoilers. I will talk about him at length in my spoiler talk. And now Black Panther, because he's a lot more prominent in this film. Chadwick Boseman kills it as T'Challa. In fact, when it comes to this character, I'm really more interested in T'Challa than Black Panther. I mean, when he's got his suit on, he kicks all sorts of ass, don't get me wrong. But I really like the backstory of T'Challa and where he comes from. They did that really well, and his upcoming solo film is one of the ones that was kind of like, okay, yeah, it's gonna happen, but I wasn't really looking forward to it as much as I was for like Doctor Strange and stuff like that. But now, because of how I saw him in this movie, no, Black Panther is gonna be really awesome. So all sorts of props to Chadwick Boseman. And the action in this movie, holy shit. The first action scene in this movie had a lot of shaky cam, and I'm not a huge fan of that. But the big action scene with all the superheroes fighting against each other is one of the best action scenes in a Marvel movie I've ever seen yet, and I have seen them all. There is a part of me that wishes it was longer, but that's just because it was so damn cool. I could watch this big fight scene over and over and over again for like 5 hours, because it's a really good blend of gritty realism with comic book fun. That's all I've ever wanted from a comic book movie. And another one of the strongest points in this film is the whole psychology of Steve Rogers versus Tony Stark. You do get both sides of the argument, and that's really important in a movie like this. I remember hearing the director saying that they want both of the main characters to be both protagonist and antagonist. Because there are points when you're like, oh yeah, I see where Captain America's coming from, I'm siding with him because Tony Stark's being a douchebag. And there are other points when you're like, oh yeah, Iron Man's totally right about this, Steve Rogers is being kind of an asshole. This movie really makes you flip-flop like that, and that's what any movie with a good rivalry has to do. And Captain America Civil War does that with flying colors. And last but not least, the score. Again, Henry Jackman came back from Winter Soldier to do this, and I can't really say that I liked it as much as Winter Soldier's score, although there are a lot of cues from that film. It's a good score, but at least to me, I don't think it's as memorable as Winter Soldier's. So Captain America Civil War had great characters, a lot of story arcs, and it did seem a little convoluted at times, but not nearly enough to bring the movie down. Great story, awesome action, and really good visual effects as per usual with Marvel. We are now entering Phase 3. This is it. We are in the shit. And I will say, go see this movie right now. Okay, so I know this film is a little ways from being out publicly, so here is my question for you. Get ready, it's a big one. Who is your favorite Marvel superhero? If you have more than one, that's okay with me. My favorite Marvel superheroes are Captain America and Spider-Man. But whoever yours are, go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.